Listen, so it's my first day at the podium, and I kind of figured that I might need some help. So I have asked Secretary Kerry to help join me today, and so we have him remotely from Boston. Okay, Mr. Secretary, can you hear me okay?
I sure can, John. Thank you very, very much, and hello to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. First question will come from Matt Lee.
The talks remain tough. They're critical. And just as I have said consistently, we're not going to rush to an agreement for the sake of an agreement, and we're not going to sign an agreement that we don't believe gets the job done. Lausanne defined fundamental parameters, as did the JPOA, of what needs to be achieved. For instance, on something like possible military dimensions, the JPOA refers to that and says that it's got to be addressed in the context of the final product. And that remains true. It has to be. And we have to resolve our questions about it with specificity. Access is very, very critical. It's always been critical from day one. It remains critical. And we defined that at Lausanne. There are fundamental things here that have to be adhered to in order to have the same definition of a good deal when we talked about it in Lausanne as when we talk about it now. And that has not changed, not going to change, can't change. Those are going to have to be resolved along the lines that they were defined in Lausanne. We're not fixated on Iran specifically accounting for what they did at one point in time or another. We know what they did. We have no doubt. We have absolute knowledge with respect to the certain military activities they were engaged in. What we're concerned about is going forward. It's critical to us to know that going forward, those activities have been stopped, and that we can account for that in a legitimate way. That clearly is one of the requirements in our judgment for what has to be achieved in order to have a legitimate agreement. And in order to have an agreement to trigger any kind of material significant sanctions relief, we would have to have those answers.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We're going to have to wrap it up there so that the Secretary can catch his plane back to Washington. Sir, thank you very much for joining us today.